really the point.
Do the Ukrainian politicians, whether it's President Putin or the people around him or the people in parliament or the head of the military, whoever is still in some official capacity of power, because Zelensky is not, still think the United States is their friend, and still think, after that litany you ticked off before the commercial break, after the absurdity that you just analyzed of what the president thinks, do the Ukrainian politicians still think the U.S. will bail them out?
Look, some of the politicians like Zelensky are, it's so personal. It's maybe even life or death for them as individuals, what they say. There's a very, very hard right, neo-Nazi paramilitary part of Ukraine that has been part of Ukraine's governance in recent years. And I've been told by senior people, well, Zelensky doesn't really have any choice. It's his life or death. I don't know whether that's true or not, but I would say that, of course, Ukraine right now is ruled by a very small clique. There is rampant corruption. There is bleeding out on the battlefield. Ukraine is losing across this long contact line land and often 1,000 to 2,000 people every single day right now. And the Ukrainians that are in charge, this small number that are operating extra constitutionally, this is a de facto government. It's not elected. It's past its term. It has no constitutional basis. Well, I don't know what they're really hoping. But what is happening is, of course, that they are losing and losing badly. And the people of Ukraine have no choice. The people of Ukraine are not asked. They're not given a say at the ballot box or even in any public discourse. And what we do know is that people are trying to flee Ukraine. They're trying to cross the rivers into Eastern Europe from Ukraine. They're dying. They're being shot. They're being grabbed off the streets and sent to the front lines to die. We see horrendous videos. I get emails about this of people who know neighbors or friends who are grabbed from their homes or off the street and sent to the front lines. So this is fighting to the last Ukrainian, as the awful expression goes, that the U.S. will fight to the last Ukrainian. The cynical but operational idea that the United States will continue to arm and finance this useless, losing cause because it's not American soldiers dying.
Yes.
It's terrible, but also we do not have a functional White House in the United States. So I don't know whether a functional president would do something different. We would hope so, but I'm extremely worried that we don't even have a functional president.
If, when you were speaking to G7 and other foreign ministers, Tony Blinken had stood up and said, but wait a minute, Professor Sachs, Ukraine has a right to join NATO. How would you have responded?
This is one of the basic strange ideas. We say as a U.S. government, when Russia said, don't do it, don't bring your missiles and your army to our border, the United States says, and this is literally what the U.S. says, it's none of your business. So we tell Russia, it's none of your business if we bring our missiles to your border. So I ask every American to think of how the U.S. government would respond if Mexico or the Bahamas, I don't want to get any country into trouble, but suppose as a thought experiment that they invited and Russia accepted or China accepted that they're going to put military bases on the Rio Grande or just off the coast of the United States. Now, we know, because it's not a hypothetical, that exactly that happened in 1962 when the Soviet Union put a base with offensive nuclear missiles into Cuba. We nearly ended the world in nuclear war. We nearly came to nuclear war. We didn't say, oh, that's Cuba's choice. They can do what they want. We believe in a free choice. The answer clearly is, whatever Ukraine might want, are we out of our minds in the United States to push right up to Russia's border and think that this is safe for Americans, that this is safe for the world? Of course, it is horrendously dangerous for Russia, a point that Russians have been making for 30 years, which is, if your missiles are a few minutes away, we have to launch on a absolutely instantaneous judgment. Everything can go wrong. The world can get destroyed. Have some sense, the Russians have been saying to the United States. So maybe the Ukrainians want it, but it's reckless and foolhardy, and a kind of behavior the United States has rejected for 201 years since the Monroe Doctrine, and rejected in practice when it occurred. And by the way, the Monroe Doctrine is not some dusty document that you read about in high school. It was invoked. I was sitting there in the UN General Assembly. It was invoked by Donald Trump in a speech to the UN General Assembly, to the world leaders during his term as president. It's a current active position of the United States. So the whole point of this NATO open door is absurd and reckless, and a point that I've made directly to the White House, and of course, without satisfaction.
How do you interpret Foreign Minister Lavrov's statement, "We are no longer at peace with you"? He didn't say we're at war with you. Obviously, unlike Tony Blinken, he's willing to communicate, and he's willing to use diplomatic phrases, but there have to be implications to a statement made like that by the foreign minister of Russia to the United States ambassador to Russia.
An American missile landed on a beach where Crimeans, civilians, were bathing and sunbathing, and a large number of people were killed or injured. Now, that attack of missile was had its coordinates set by the United States. The Ukrainians don't do it. They don't know how to do it. The U.S. is directly engaged in firing missiles at Russians, and in this case, at civilians on a beach. And it's sometimes at Russians within Russian territory, because that's another green light that Antony Blinken and Jake Sullivan and Lloyd Austin and maybe the president, though who knows what he actually does anymore, but in any event, what they have authorized. So this is what Russia is saying. You are directly attacking us. This isn't that you've handed over weapons and Ukraine is doing it. The United States is programming the directions, is providing the quote intelligence. So it's not very intelligent, but right. We have our drones collecting the targeting information over the Black Sea for these missile attacks. This is so dangerous. This is shockingly dangerous. It has to stop.
I wish that you could speak to Tony Blinken directly. I don't know that he'd listen, but I wish you could. I'm profoundly grateful that you are with us. You are a man of history as well as of knowledge, and people do listen to you. They don't always follow what you say, but at least they listen to you to be able to.
Well, we're going to keep pushing, because we absolutely are in danger until the United States changes course and sits down and negotiates.
No question about it. Professor Sachs, thank you very much. I know you're traveling.